How's it going, guys? I'm Connor from Running Warehouse. Today I'm here with Brian Beckstead. He's the co-founder at Altra Running. And today we are testing out their newest trail racer, the Mont Blanc. It's all new, it's fast, it's cushioned. Brian, first thing I gotta talk about is you've been kind of leading the charge on the development of this shoe for a while. You're a trail racer. This shoe was kind of built to your standards. Let me know, what was kind of the philosophy on bringing this shoe to life?
Well, you know, Altra has a great history in trail running, right? We love our trail running shoes. We've got a great product line. I personally ran Mont Blanc back in 2015. And I ran the first 70 miles in Lone Peaks, because that's my favorite shoe. And then I ran the last, 35 miles in testing Olympus. The Olympus 2 back in the day, I think is what it was. And you know, as a lot of our elite athletes, they wanted something, and you know, you had the benefits of both of those, right? There's benefits of both. And then we had a bunch of our elite athletes wanting something faster, that still has the cushion, that still has the traction, but is light and nimble. And so this is something that is just, we wanted to be able to say, okay, I want to run that loop, rocky and nasty terrain, but I want to run it as fast as I possibly can. And this is what we were able to come up with. And I am super, super stoked. As an avid ultra runner myself and trail runner, I am just thrilled with how this shoe came together.
Yeah, and you know, we've already ran a little bit in this shoe. We're here in Boulder, Colorado, testing it out on a variety of trail. And this shoe is so versatile. And I think that really comes down to the lugs. We'll get into that a little bit later, the cushioning, everything about it. First on up, let's talk about the new midsole compound. We've got Ego Max. It's the first trail shoe to feature that. What was the thought process of putting that in this shoe, and what is that going to feel like underfoot?
Well, you know, I think we wanted something that's super cushy, right? But also has the energy return. And that's really that balance of Ego Max. I mean, we tested all sorts of them. You can actually see, you know, this is one iteration here that we tested. We've tested all sorts of stuff. I've been testing the shoe for almost a year now in various iterations. And we really wanted to fine tune that Ego Max for the trail to make it soft and shock absorbent, but also fast and tuned. And that's really what we were able to do with the midsole foam on this shoe.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of midsole kind of progression from Altra. We've got the Ego Pro and the new Vanish Carbon, and that's amazing. It's soft, it's responsive. But when you look at the Ego Max here, it has a softness, it has a responsiveness, but it's a little bit more tuned for the trail.
Correct.
I noticed when you're going, like, you feel a little bit of softness, but it's not too soft. It's not mushy. You can kind of adapt on the trail. It feels nimble. There's so much stack underfoot, so you can go those ultra marathon distances, but then you can also kind of just really maneuver well in the technical terrain. So I feel like this is, while it is a racer, it's gonna be a versatile shoe.
Oh, absolutely. Over tons of different type of terrain, right? I mean, we've really notched that heel, so your heel fits really low and sits tight in it. And then that midsole foam is cushioned. Like you said, you can take turns in it. It was absolutely fantastic. And the lug pattern helps with that too, right? I mean, with those different fingers there, the shoe is able to really adapt around rocks and terrain, making it just super versatile.
Yeah, and taking a look at this tread pattern, we don't have huge lugs. It's, you know, kind of small nubs that work pretty well on a wide variety of trail surfaces. We've taken it on technical terrain, we've taken it on loose. It seems to work well pretty much on anything. But when we're looking at race conditions like Mont Blanc, how is this shoe going to perform?
Well, you know, first of all, it's a Vibram Mega Grip, right? And it's the light base. So it's their super light, but incredibly grippy and versatile outsole system. But then, you know, the way we've kind of taken over the shoe, you have traction where you need it and not where you don't, right? And so, and each one of these are able to act independently, right? So when you hit a rock, they're able to really kind of be nimble around those rocks, right? Over any type of terrain. You know, I mean, Mont Blanc, it's not necessarily a muddy type of terrain. There's a lot of rock to it, where it's really technical rock. And that's what this shoe is made for, right? It works over dry, it works over rocky, it works for all sorts of terrain. And it's really just made to be light, fast, and nimble over a long distance, right?
Yeah.
Like Mont Blanc.
Right.
So we feel like we nailed it.
And you talk about keeping this shoe as light as possible. How important is that in race day, come 100 miles? Do you feel like this shoe kind of accomplished everything from a weight perspective?
I do. I mean, I think the goal wasn't to go as light as we possibly could, right? It was to go as protective and cushioned as we could and then take that super light, right? And that's really the goal here, right? We don't want to compromise the protection of your foot or the traction, right? We just want to carve off any unnecessary weight. I mean, I've run quite a few 100-mile races, and man, I'll tell you what, when the shoes get heavy and clunky, when it gets wet, right, and muddy, you just notice when those shoes get heavy. And this shoe, we've carved off all that unnecessary, but without having to sacrifice the speed or the protection as well.
Yeah, and we got this shoe wet a little bit earlier, and it has seemed to shed water pretty well. So I feel like this is, like you said, going to be an extremely versatile shoe. But one thing I noticed was when we were running on maybe a little bit lighter trail, it performed really well. It felt responsive, and it kind of reminded me of another shoe Altra had, the Duo. Was there any sort of kind of inspiration from that shoe that led to what we have here?
Yeah, absolutely, right? I mean, I love that Duo, right? It was super cushioned, and it was light. It's definitely more for max cushion road speed. And it worked on the trail quite well as well. And so we want to take all the things that worked in that shoe, but also with really our trail line. And really, you know, we had a lot of our elite athletes testing this shoe, prototyping this shoe, and make it as fast and light and cushioned as possible, right? The Duo was very much inspired by that, but also just really trying to tune everything we could to the best long distance ultra marathon racing shoe we could possibly make.
Yeah, and I'm not technically an ultra marathon runner yet, but I do feel like I will use this mainly probably for some of my longer trail runs when you're going out 15, 20 miles and you just want a shoe that feels fast but also has that protection. But you, as you know, a veteran ultra marathon runner, where do you feel like you're gonna find this in your lineup? Daily training, racing, a little bit mixture of both?
Definitely a mixture of both. I think it is tuned for racing, right? It's not going to be quite as durable as certain other models, or, you know, in muddy conditions, for example, I would probably stick with my Lone Peaks. But I think really being able to tune it in for that long distance, maybe it's a 50K or whether it's a 100-mile race, whatever it is, that long, fast days on the trail, that's where this shoe is going to shine.
Well, talking about those long, fast days on the trail, I feel like we got to talk about the upper, because the upper is what kind of keeps this shoe very lightweight, but you're always kind of have a balancing act with a race upper, keeping it as light as possible, but also having that support to go the distance. Can you tell me a little bit about some of your thoughts on the upper in this shoe?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is on our standard fit, right? So this is going to fit like a Superior or a Torin or a Temp, right? Little bit more secure than, let's say, a Lone Peak or an Olympus. But what we've also done is we have a gusseted tongue where the upper really kind of wraps around the top of the foot. We have these little heel pads here to keep that heel locked in place without having to do a bulky heel to it. So it really kind of has that racing type features, but really on our most popular fit, right? You know, Torin, Superior, Temp, things like that. So really just tuned in, lightweight, but still has our standard foot shape fit and last.
Yeah, and when we were kind of bombing down some of those hills, you can feel that locked in feel,
Yep.
But it just feels light, it feels race ready, but again, it has that support to pretty much go any distance. It's built for the ultra marathon, and again, I feel like the upper, while it's not maybe the most important part about this shoe, because I feel like that Ego Max really what makes it shine, the upper really kind of pulls the shoe all together.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of just gives it that little slipper feel, but at the same time, like a rich racing feel. It's that really awesome blend that is gonna be comfortable at mile 80, but also keep you secure as you bomb down the hill at mile 7, you know? It's that happy middle ground that I think we really nailed.
Yeah, well, I've only gotten a few miles in these shoes. I'm extremely excited to get more miles in. I know you've been testing this from inception, so again, I am excited to try this out more, put in the miles, maybe even get an ultramarathon race. You never know.
There you go.
But if you are looking to get the Mont Blanc on your own feet, try it out for yourself. You can find it now here at Running Warehouse.